Hello everyone, welcome to last session of Android Study Gems. And in this session, we will learn about Room database and MVVM architecture. So I assume that you all must have some basic knowledge about SQL because I'm going to use two three queries in live demonstration. And okay, so our today's objectives are understand Room database and MVVM, and then implement both these things, Room database and MVVM, in a simple app. Okay, and the app which you all are going to submit on January, you need to use both of these things. I mean, Room database and MVVM architecture on that application. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing is what is MVVM architecture? Why we use it? Okay, so MVVM basically stands for model view and view model. So this is the pattern in which we are going to create our app, and this pattern is considered as a very clean architecture pattern. Now, what MVVM does or how it works. So basically, MVVM separates presentation logic from business logic part. Now you must be thinking what is presentation logic and core business logic part. So presentation logic is actually your UI part, uh, the part where user interact, like pressing a button or typing something or scrolling. Everything, these all things comes under presentation logic, which we handle using views. And the core business logic part includes processing part. You can say like storing data on a server or fetching data from a server, storing data in Room database or making an API request, a network request. All these things comes under core business logic part. So these both things, presentation logic and business logic, are separated by MVVM. So now how it separates or how MVVM works. Let's discuss it in more detail. So let's talk about model first. So model basically defines how we are going to read or write our data from from anywhere basically, like from it can be a server or it can be an offline database or it can be an API also. So this is defined by model, that how we are going to read or write our data. And what is view? So view basically deals with our user interface, like um, as I told you earlier, like button press, scrolling, edit text, text views. All these things are dealt by view. View handles all these things. And what happens? Uh, Now, lastly, we have view model. So what is basically view model? View model keeps an eye on view. So what happens? Suppose you press the button and you want some text to be displayed on the screen. So in that case, what will happen? View model will send that required text, whatever you want to display on the screen, to view, and view will display it on the screen. Okay, so this is what view model does. So now I told you how view model and view work. Now let me tell you how view model and model work. Okay, so suppose, consider the same example. You press the button and now you want to display some text, but that text needs to be fetched from a server. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? View model will view model will go to model. Like I told you, model defines how we are going to read or write our data. So firstly, view model will access our model class to understand how he is going to read the data from that server. Okay, then view model will fetch the data from server and then pass that data to view. So this is how view model and model works. So now you must have understood the three things: model, view, and view model. How these things are interlinked with each other. Okay, so and here is a representation of all the three things. Like view deals with activity and fragment. Like I told you, presentation logic, everything with related to UI. So that all is dealt by view. And view model deals with all the core business logic part, the processing part, and live data also comes under view model. Okay, so now live data is basically a class which helps you in observing real time data change. Okay, so you have observers, and live data is life cycle aware. So life cycle aware, what it means, it means that till the time your activity is running, live data will work, and as you will migrate from this activity to another activity, your live data will stop working. So this is what life cycle aware means. So this is a very good concept, live data, which we can use with view model. Now lastly comes the model part. So here it model is written in front of room database because we use the model class to read the data from room database. As I have told you about the server, similarly it works with room database. uh, okay, so here is also a representation. Okay, so here is one thing that I want to tell you: property change events. So what happens? Mm, Suppose you are using your phone in like portrait mode and you change it to landscape. So what will happen? Currently the activity which was on your screen, all the data that activity was holding will be lost. Okay, so this is also one of the main reason we use view model, because view model, whatever data is present inside view model will be there, will remain there. It will not be lost. Okay, so we can reinitialize all our variables again with the help of view model class. Okay, so property change events includes many things like one I told you, orientation change, and other things maybe, split screen and picture in picture mode. So these all things comes under property change events. Okay, UI events, I told you that button press example where you were supposed to display a text. So, and view model data is that text which view model sent to our view for displaying purpose. And I told you we use model for reading and writing purposes. Okay, so now let's talk about room database. So the first question comes to our mind: why we should use room? What is the reason for using this? So basically, room library is you know a room library is built over SQL to reduce some problems that we were facing in SQLite. So what was the problems actually? So the problems were, the main problem was boilerplate code. So what is actually boilerplate code? So you can say if you use same piece of code again and again, just sometimes little modifications might be there, but uh, if you are using same piece of code again and again, then we call it boilerplate code. So what room database does, room database removes that boilerplate code. Okay, and another thing is compile time verification. So what happens? Suppose you have written two, three queries. So room database or room library will check all of your queries during the compile time only. Okay. And initially, previously, if you use SQLite, it don't do that. It will not check your queries during the compile time. So your app might crash, or you will get a runtime error. So this thing is better. Compile time verification is better. So that is also one of the reason we prefer to use room library. And now easy integration with architecture components. So nowadays we are using live data and Rx Java. So uh, it is very easy to use live data and Rx Java, these things with room library. Okay, so these are some advantage, or actually why should we use room? So these are the basic points. Now these are four Gradle files which are necessary for using room database in our program. And here is one important thing. There is one plugin as well. You see that Kotlin annotation processing tool. So there is a plugin required with this library as well, known as Kotlin-Carpt. I will tell you when I will give you the live demonstration how to use that. Okay, so now let's talk about primary components of our Room database. So it includes three things. One is database class, data entities, and data access objects. So what is a database class? Database class is basically an abstract class which is used for you know like which serves as access point or which holds the database, you can say. Like if database is already created, it will load it, or if it is not created, this database class will create that database for you. This is the main purpose of database class. Now let's talk about data entities. So you can say data entities are basically model class with a little bit of modification. Okay, so we write an entity notation for converting our model class to a data entity. It is basically same. When I will give you the line demonstration, you will understand better how this works. Okay, and lastly comes the data access objects. So data access objects are objects which we use for you know writing, deletion, updation, query, these things. For these purposes, whatever we use, we call them data access objects, and we use DAO annotation uh, outside our class where we define our data access objects. Okay, so let's understand database in a more deep way. So database class is an abstract class, as I told you, and it extends room database. Now, we use this database annotation for our database class. Now, what this database annotation holds, database annotation, inside this database annotation, we define all our model classes. Suppose uh, here it is user, because only one model class is there, so we have written user scope resolution class. Suppose we have another model class named student. So what we can do, we can write our student class separated by comma in here as well. Okay, and this version is our database version. Okay, uh, and there is one more thing which is not written here, exported schema. uh, so what is basically an exported schema? It defines whether you want to keep the backup of previous version of your database or not. Okay, suppose you are using version 1 of your database, and now you modified your database, and now you converted version 1 to 2. So if exported schema is true, means earlier if it was set to true, so what will happen? The all the data of version 1 will remain there, and if it was false, so whatever data was stored in the version 1, it will be lost. Okay, it will be removed from database. All right. So now here is one more thing. Suppose you have created one DAO class for your uh, room database. So what you supposed to do inside this database class, you need to create an abstract function for every DAO class that you have created, and you are going to use with this database only. Okay, suppose with this database you are going to use two DAO class. So what you need to do, you need to mention both DAO class in here, like this one. All right, so let's talk about data entity. So as I told you, it is basically a model class with a little bit of modification. So as you can see here, uh, an entity annotation is added, and inside this entity annotation, we write our table name. Okay. And primary key annotation is used for making the primary key. So here UID will act as our primary key. Similarly, column info, like inside column info, we give our column name, and after this we write the variable which we want to use with this column info. Like using this variable, we will input and read data from our database. So this variable will use for that work. Okay. Okay. And lastly, data access objects. So I told you about DAO class. So it is basically an interface within DAO annotation. So this whole thing we call as a DAO class. And inside this DAO class, we have data access objects. As you can say, this queries and insert, delete. These all we call as data access objects. Okay, so let me explain one by one how this works. Okay, so first query, let's start with first query. So it is written here, select start from user. So we all can understand that this is going to take all the data from the database, whatever is present there. Okay, and we are not passing any argument for this. Okay, you only want to read the data, you don't want to store anything. So we have created a function with no arguments and only a return type. Return type will be is of list and user. User is our model class and list is okay. So we created a list of user type. And similarly in the second one, what we are doing, we are returning all the users with a given user ID. So in this case, we are passing some arguments, we are giving some arguments to the function and returning something as well. So in this case, here is an argument to the function as well, and this is a return type list of user. User is a model class. Okay, and in the third one, so what we are doing, we are searching the data on the basis of first name and last name, and we have limited the output to one. This limit one means it will only give you one output. I mean, it will send you the first match only. Doesn't matter how many names with the given first name and last name are present in there. It will only return one data or one column, you can say. So we are passing our first name and last name as a function argument, and it is returning only one data. So we don't need to use list this time. We can simply write user here, which is our model class. And now let's come to our insert function. So for insertion, there is a direct annotation. As you can see here, it is written insert. So for insertion, for deletion, and for updation as well, we have direct annotation. So we don't need to write query like this. Okay. So we will use insert annotation, and in insert, what we need to do, we are only inserting. In this case, we are not receiving anything. So we will only pass uh, one argument to function which is of our model class type, and we will not return anything because we don't need to. All right, same for deletion. For deleting, we just need to pass what we want to delete. Okay, it is also not going to return anything. We don't need anything. So we will only pass our model class to this delete function, and it will delete that database for us, that data for us. Okay, so now let's have a live demonstration that how this thing will work. Okay, so let me share my Android Studio screen with you all. Okay, so what we are going to do, we will begin by adding our Gradle files, and I told you about that plugin as well. I will tell you how to do that. So and you can find this code, like whatever app I am going to create, you can find this code on GitHub and Discord as well. Okay, so you can refer from there if you are lagging behind. Or so these are the Gradle files which I shown you in the PPT, and the plugin which I was talking about is this one. So this plugin is necessary, and these Gradle files I have added. Now we can sync it. So everyone is ready now. Like everyone has opened their Android Studio, and everything is set now. I can proceed further. All right. So I have added the Gradle files. Now, what we need to do, we need to create a basic layout for our application. So uh, we will create two fragments. First one is list fragment where we are going to create our recycler view, and the second one is the fragment where we will do our updation, deletion, and uh, insertion part. Okay, so let me show you how to create a package first. So what you need to do, you need to right click on this one, go to new and select package and give it a name. Like I'm going with the name of list fragment, and inside this list fragment, I'm going to create an empty fragment, and I will give it same name. And similarly, I'm going to create another fragment for our updation, deletion, insertion thing. Uh, Another package with name of updation fragment. Inside this fragment, again, we will create inside this package, we will create another blank fragment named as. All right. So now we have created our fragments. Now what we need to do, we need to create an navigation resource file for going from one fragment to another. We need that, so we will create it. So we will go to resource manager and navigation and create a navigation resource file. Let's give it name navigation. Actually, some dependencies are missing, so it will tell me to add those dependencies. Just wait for a second. Okay, so I will simply press OK and it will add it for me. Okay, so now we have our navigation resource file ready. Now what we have to do, we have to add our fragments, whatever we have created, list and operation. We will add it here, uh, list fragment and okay, so operation. So okay, now understand what we will do. We will go from our list fragment to operation fragment for adding, deletion, and updation part, and we will come back from operation fragment to list fragment. For that, we need to attach our list fragment to operation fragment and operation fragment back to list fragment. Okay, so this part is done. Now we need to add nav host fragment with our in our main activity. All right, so we will do that. You can simply add it from palette section. You don't need to write the code inside this container and nav host fragment. You can simply drop it here and it will ask you to attach a navigation resource file. So you can select the file which you have created just now and press OK. So it is here. Now we can remove this text view. We don't need that. And we can make it wrap content. Sorry, not wrap content, batch parent. Alright, so this is done. We have created our navigation resource file. We have created our nav host fragment, attached it, and now we need to write a little bit of code for our attaching our nav host. Okay, so and okay, let me write it here. Let's create a variable well uh, nav host fragment. Okay, Okay, well, Navos fragment is equals to uh, support fragment manager, and uh, we will pass the ID of our Navhost fragment to this support fragment manager by using find fragment by ID r.id dot and the ID was fragment contained. Okay, so we have passed the ID of our Navhost segment. Now we will write as uh, Navhost fragment. So this part is done. Now we will add nav controller. Okay, so we will create another variable nav controller. Nav controller equals nav host fragment which we have just created dot nav controller. So this is done. Uh, now we can use our nav host fragment is attached with nav controller. So now the last thing is left, that is set up action bar with nav controller. This is a new thing. What this does, let me write. Like suppose you as you migrate from list fragment to operation fragment, it will change the name of action bar from list to operation, something like that. Okay. Now this is done. Now we can try running our app. Let's see what will happen. It is working fine. All right. Now what we need to do, we need to add some button. Okay, so and select this clip art option. Okay, and select this clip art option, and here you can search for ad. So you'll find this one. Just press OK and give it a name. Like I will give it name ad because it is already there. So as you will press OK and finish, the error will remove from here. Okay, now there is no error. Okay, now similarly, we have to create one more vector asset for a deletion part. So what we will do, we will again go to drawable, right click it, go to new, and click on vector asset, and search for delete. Okay, select this one, press OK, and give it a name, simple name, delete. Click next and finish. So you have created your another asset named. Sorry everyone, I got disconnected because of some network issue. So one of you tell me like till where you have followed me. Hello.
But I think you have just configured the nav host fragment when we got disconnected.
Okay, so you are following me now. You are doing with me, right? Okay, okay.
Mm.
Look, all right. So what I was saying, you people have not written this part. Okay, so let me explain it once again from this part. So have you done this one?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
explain it from here.
okay, I have to explain it, or you have understood this?
Okay, please explain it so we can catch it up with it.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to attach our, that navigation resource file with our nav host fragment. Okay, so for that, for doing that, we write here support fragment manager dot find view by ID, and inside this we pass the ID of our fragment nav host fragment. Okay, so the ID of our nav host fragment is fragment container view. We pass that as nav host fragment because we are attaching this to our nav segment. That is why we write here as nav segment. All right. Now, what we will do after this, we need to attach our nav segment with our nav controller. So for doing this, we write this line just nav segment dot nav controller. Okay. And finally, this is a function setup action bar with nav controller for changing the title of action bar. Like if you are in a list fragment in action bar, it will show you list, and as you will migrate to operation fragment, it will change the title to operation. Okay, so we use this function for changing the name of our action bar. Okay, so let's go further. So yes, now here what I did, I just enabled view binding, and what I'm doing, I'm trying to do like when you will click on floating action button, you want to go to operation fragment. So what I am doing here, I have attached that set on click listener with my floating action button. Okay, and now for migrating, there is a function like file nav controller dot navigate, and inside this, I will provide an ID list. Because we are migrating from list fragment to operation fragment, so we will select this one, list fragment to operation fragment. All right, so this is done. Now it should work properly. So when I will create my float, when I will select my floating button, it should migrate to you know operation fragment. So let's run it. Okay, so this is working, and okay, so this is going like we clicked on our floating action button, it migrated to operation fragment. Now the problem is our back button is not working, and okay, so our back button is not working. So there is also a function for this, like for this back button to work. Okay, we will create that function now. So go to your main activity, and here is a function. I'm writing it in here. Uh, on support, navigate up. This is the function. Inside this function, what we need to do, we need to create a variable like name nav controller and do the same thing. We will attach our nav host fragment with find nav controller. I will show you how we do that. Well, nav controller is equals to find nav controller, and inside this find nav controller we will provide the ID of our nav host fragment, that is a container view. Okay, and after doing this part, we will return nav controller dot navigate up. So we will remove this default line, and we will return nav controller dot navigate up. Okay, so now our back button will work. Okay, so after clicking this, let's run it. Okay, so it is working. Okay, now it's working. I clicked on back button, and now it is coming back to the list fragment. Okay, so this is how we make our back button work. So this is done. Now what we need to do, we need to create our database class, user DAO, and model class. These things we need to do. So for that, first we will create our model class. So let's create another package, and let's name it model. Okay, so let's name it model, and inside this model we will create a data class. As I told you that this is a data class, so content class file, and we will name it as model as well, the data class, and press enter. Okay, so now we have created our model class. Now what we need to do, we need to write an annotation, entity annotation, mm, entity, and inside this entity annotation we will give the name to our table. Okay, so let's give it a name student. So this is done, and now we will create the columns, whatever how many columns we want. We will create inside this model class. So as you all know, there is a primary key annotation I told you. So first make primary key, and is val, and let's name it id, type integer, and now we have created our primary key. Now we will create our columns. Okay, so uh, so we will write column info. Inside this column info we will give the name to our column. Let's give it name first name, and it is of string type. Okay, let's give it a name f name, and it is of string type. All right. And similarly, let's create our last column, and make it last name, well, name, string. Okay. So this is how we create a model class, for especially for Room database. It's a little bit of difference is there. You need to add this entity annotation. You need to create primary key. You need to write column info. So these are the things you need to keep in mind. Okay. Okay. So now we have created our model class. Uh, After this, we will create our database and user DAO. Okay, so let's create another package and name it as user DAO. DAO is a data access object. Okay, so user DAO. We created this package, and inside this package, we will create an interface. Interface, basically, I haven't told you. Interface is a light version of abstract class, you can say. Like interface defines the behavior that can be used by other classes. Okay, so it does not include any execution part inside. Interface does not include that. Okay, so let's create a Kotlin class file, name it as user down as well, and it is an interface. So okay, now as you saw in the PPT, we need to add an annotation named DAO, DAO. Okay, this is the now inside this interface we will create uh, our data access objects. Okay, so first we will create an insert object from insertion. So we will write insert and let's name the function insert, and for insertion we are receiving some arguments inside the function, so we can write data in here, and it is of model type, and the name of our model was model itself, so we will write this only. It is not going to return anything. Okay, so now similarly we can create for deletion query updation. Okay, so let me just write it like this. Okay, now I will make you understand how I did that. For deletion you are also accepting an argument, so you have done the same thing here, user of type model. Okay, so you can change it to data as well. Okay, let's keep the all names same. Okay, and now this is a query for deletion of all the data, like mm, whatever data is present, you want to delete everything. So as you know from SQL, like we use delete from student command. So this is what we are using here. And it is not going to accept any argument, neither it is going to return any argument. Okay, so we have written function delete or simply. And this is another query for reading all the data. So what this query do, this query will arrange the data in ascending order according to ID. Okay, so now this is going to return something. So we have you created a list of model inside the live data, and as I told you, live data will tell you about real time change in the data which is present inside this list. So we have this is how we attach live data to a list. Okay, we can attach with the mutable list as well. Okay, an array list as well, so we can attach live data with them also. Okay, now last one is the update part. Okay, so for update part we need to write an update annotation, and inside this we will create a function. And here also we will only accept an argument because we need to update. We will not return anything, so we have update accepted an argument of our data class type model, and let's change it to data as well. Okay, so this is done. Our user DAO part is created. Okay, so these are, so as I told you, interface is basically for the behavior part. So these all things are defining the behavior, what they are going to do. Okay, now we need to create our database. So let's create another package and name it as the database. And inside this database, I told you that database is an abstract class. So we will create an abstract class, name it database as well, and make this class abstract. Okay. So now it is an abstract class. So now for database class, we need to add database annotation as well. Okay. So uh, let's add this database annotation, and inside this database annotation we will define our model class that we have created under the entities section. So the name of our model class is model scope resolution class. So this is how we define our model class. Okay, uh, so there is some error. Let me see. All right. All right. Okay. Now it's fine. The import was not properly done. Now it's fine. Now after this entities, we will write version. Whatever version we can mention, any version we want to start with, and let's give it name one. And I told you about exported schema. So we don't want to keep the package. We don't want to keep the backup of previous version. So we make our exported schema to false. And now it is not going to keep the backup of previous version of our database, right? Now, as I told you, we need to create an empty function with the return type of our user dot type for every interface. So let's do this. Get function, name it user DAO, and it will return uh, an instance of user DAO, or you can say an object of type user DAO. So uh, this is done. I just okay. So now we need to create our database. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, so see this code. So let me explain it one by one. So there is a companion object. So what is the use of this companion object? Suppose you want to use a certain feature of a class without using the instance of that class or object of that class, then we use companion object. Okay, so whatever is present inside the companion object, we can directly use without using the instance of that given class. Okay, so this is what companion object done. Now here is a volatile annotation. So what this volatile annotation does, whatever is present under this volatile annotation. So what will happen? Suppose a particular thread is executing this. This particular line is present inside some particular thread. So what will happen if we will make some changes in here? Those changes will immediately gets reflected to that that thread in which this part is executing. So instantaneous reflection of changes will occur on that thread where this line is executing currently. So this is what volatile does. Okay, and we have created a function get database which receives argument context, and it will return an instance of database. Okay, so we have created a variable named temp instance which will hold the instance and which is initially null. Okay, now what will happen? So if temp instance is not equals to null, we will return. So this we will talk about this later. First, let's talk about this. Okay. Oh, all right. So I just forgot to extend room database in here. So let's very quickly do this. So this is done. Now let me tell you what this synchronized is. So what happens? Uh, Synchronize, what synchronize does, it only allow one thread to execute this particular block of code. Like suppose many threads are working on background. So what this synchronize will do, it will only allow one thread to execute this particular block at a time. Like suppose multiple threads want to execute this code, so when one thread will finish executing this, then only another thing will be able to execute this code. So this is what synchronize does. Okay, and now inside this synchronized we will create our database. So this is how we create our database. Room.database builder, inside this we will provide application context, and then uh, our database class and the name of our database that I have created user database and dot build. So this part will create our database. Okay, now as it is here, it is returning an instance of database. So we will simply return instance. Okay, so this will do. So this is how we create our database. So after creating the database, uh, uh, what we need to do, we will create the layout for our list fragment and our operation fragment. All right, so let's do that. Let's go to layout and select list fragment. Uh, okay, list fragment is already done. So let's go to operation fragment and create a layout for this one. So let's change it to constraint layout first. From layout to constraint layout. Inside this constraint layout, we will add the code. I have already written that code, so I'm not writing it again. So this is the code. Let's create a new space declaration. Okay, so this is how it looks like. You can see I have created three fields for ID, first name, last name, and then three buttons for addition, updation, and deletion. Right, so this is our simple layout. All right. Uh, Now what we need to do, we need to create our view model class. Okay, so with coroutines and live data. So let's create another package in here uh, and name it as user view model. And inside this user view model, create another class named user view model. Okay, so we have created our view model class. Now, uh, inside this view model, we need to pass the application as argument and extend Android view model. Pass application as in here as well. Okay. Now inside our user view model, we can implement all the functions that we have created earlier in the user DAO part. We can use all of them in here inside coroutines. So firstly, let's create a variable read all data. For this function read all data, we will create a variable because this part will not need any coroutine. Read all data part will not need any coroutine. It will directly just fetch the data from database. So we will write it without coroutine read all data equals to and how we write this. So see how I'm doing this. Database dot get database, and inside this database we write application dot user dot, that is our interface class, and inside this interface class is our read all data function. So we will simply select this from here. So this is how we do that. Now read all data will contain whatever will be fetched from that uh, database, that will be stored here in read all data part. Okay. Now we are going to use coroutines for all other functions. Okay. So let me show you how to do that. Mm, we should insert. I'm creating it for insert function first, data, and it is of model class type. And inside this, what do we write? View model scope. We will write view model scope dot uh, launch. And actually, what you need to mention that on what thread you want to launch your coroutine. Okay, if you will leave it as it is, it will not run. It will show you an error. So inside we will write dispatchers dot io because we want to run this thread. I mean, we want to run this operation in our input output thread. So we will mention here io. Io refers for to input output. All right, and here we will do the same thing. That function will receive data, and now we will pass this data to our database. How we will do that? See, let's see. Write database dot get database. Here write get application dot user down dot and insert, and inside this insert we will pass whatever argument this function has received data. So we will pass this data in here. Okay, similarly we can do the same thing for all other functions. So let's copy this for time. Okay, so next one will be delete. Okay, so just change it to delete, and here replace this insert with delete. All right, and pass this data as argument. Okay, and similarly you can do for delete all as well. So in this insert to delete all, and delete all will not accept any argument because you are supposed to delete everything. So keep it empty, and here also delete all. So and then lastly update. Okay, so this function will be update. And updation is receiving an argument, so data is written there, and we'll write update here as well and pass data. Okay, this is how we create our view model. Okay, so everything clear till here? Tell me, like you are following me now. All right, so let's move further, and like you can ask me if you have any doubt. You can just open your mic and you can ask me whatever problem you have. I will solve it. So I hope that all of you are uh, understanding whatever I am telling. So now what I'm going to do, I will write the logic for list fragment and operation fragment. So let's begin with operation fragment first. Okay, and let's close all this, and let's go to our operation fragment, and I will remove this unnecessary code. Okay, and let's enable view binding in here as well. Binding and binding, and here we need we write anything is equals to layout illustrator. We will return binding dot root as I done earlier. So it's done. So now we will write the logic for every button. Like I have created 3 buttons for updation, deletion, and insertion. So if we will create the logic for each of this button, now how we will do that? Let's see. Okay, now I also need to call view model inside this fragment. So let's do that as well. Later into the user view model, user view model type, user view model. Okay, and now uh, we will initialize this user view model. User view model is equals to view model provider dot get. Inside this get, we will pass that our view model class. So the name was user view model class.java. Okay, so this is how we call our view model in our fragment or activity. Okay. So now first we will write the code for our addition button. So how we do that? We will write binding dot uh, add set one click listener. Okay. And what we need to do, we need to pass an object of our model class type containing the data which we want to enter. Okay, so for that, let's see how we do that. So create a variable well data is to and then the name of our model class model, and inside this model we will pass the data which we want to insert. So how we do that? Binding dot first we will pass our id, so we will write binding dot id dot text dot to string dot to int. Okay, because it is of integer type, so we need to convert it into int before passing. Okay, and now we will pass first name, so binding dot first name dot text dot to string. This is how we pass our first name, and last name binding dot last name dot text dot to string. So this is how we will pass the data. Okay, so now we have created a variable of model class type containing all the data. Now we need to pass this variable to our database. Okay, so how we will do that? We will simply write user vmodel, because I have already initialized this vmodel. So we will write user vmodel dot. We will use this insert function and pass this data to this insert function. Okay, so okay, let's run our app and see how it is working. Is it inserting the data or not? Let's see that. Okay, so our app is working fine. So let's try adding some data. So let's add one. In name will add Adit and last name is same. And let's click on add. So now how we will know that our whatever data we have added actually is actually added in our database or not. So for that we have a tool named as app inspection. Okay, so we can check it from here. Okay. Now you can see here is a table named student. When you will double click on this table student, you will be able to see the data I have just inserted. Okay, so you can see ID one, the first name Adit and last name Singh. So this is how it works. Okay, so the adding part is working fine. Now we can proceed to further like updation and deletion part also. Okay, so the logic is almost same. We can just copy paste this code two times and modify it after. So uh, date and in case of insert we'll write update. Similarly here deletion we will write delete in here, and okay, so now updation and deletion should work also. Let's check this as well. Okay, so what we are going to do, we have not created our recycler view yet, so you might be having some problem. So just ignore it for 1 second. So what we want to do, we want to update our data. Like initially, what is present? One Aditya and Singh. This is present inside the database. Now we want to change Aditya to some other name. Suppose Nikhil. So what we will do? We will pass that same ID. Now we will change the name to Nikhil, and last name we will keep it same. Okay. Now we will press on update. So now now what will happen? Now it will change this first name to Nikhil and last name Singh as we did, and ID remains same. So this is how updation works. And let me show you how deletion works. So what you need to do for deletion, you only require to pass the primary key. So if you delete this name and delete this everything, you just pass your primary key and you press on delete. So, okay, so as you will press on delete, whatever was present in the database, like whatever, not whatever, what that ID one, that primary key one will delete. Okay, it will delete the whole column with primary key one. Okay, so this is how uh, this deletion works. So these three buttons are working fine: addition, updation, and deletion. Now what we need to do, we need to display this data, like whatever data is stored in the room database, we want to display it as a recycler view. So how we will do that? So inside this list fragment, we will add recycler view. Okay. So so this is our recycler view. We have added it. You can get the code from Discord or Microsoft. Now we need to create layout for our recycler view. Like we need to create that. So let's come to layout. Right click here and create new layout resource file and name it as row layout. Right. So inside this row layout, we will create a very simple layout. I will show you. Um, so this is the code for row layout. Okay, let's change this to web content and add padding 25 dp. Okay, so this is our layout. Very simple layout. It will display the ID, first name, and last name. Okay, so this is our row layout. Now we can start creating our adapter for the recycler view. All right, so let's do that. So for creating our adapter, let's create another package and name it as adapter. Inside this adapter, create a Kotlin class and adapter. Okay, so this is done. Now let's create our recycler view. Okay, so first we extend our recycler view in this adapter class and attach adapter, and inside this adapter we will adapter dot, and we will write the name of our view holder class. So I am writing it my view holder in here. So this is our view holder class, and let's implement the members now. Okay. Okay, now inside uh, okay, so we are going to use view binding in here. So let's write latent var binding, and the name of this is okay. So we are using our row layout. So we will inside this adapter we will use row layout binding. Okay. So this is how we do that. And we need to create a list because and no, for displaying the data, we need to create a list. So I will create an empty list in here. Let's name it data list and is equals to empty list and of type our model class. So we have created our okay. So now our list is also done. Okay, now we need to work with our my view holder class. All right, so let's pass the argument inside this class binding, row layout binding, and similarly as we done above, we will extend recycler view dot view holder, and inside this view holder we will provide the pass binding dot root. Right, so this is done. Now inside this my view holder class, we will initialize our views like we created three edit text fields, so we will initialize them here inside this. Okay, so I will simply write it like so. Okay, so this is how it's done. You can just simply write val id is equals to finding dot id, and for first name and last name you can do like this. So it's done. Now let's write the code for our on create view holder. Okay, so here we will write binding is equals to row layout binding dot inflate, and inside this inflate we will uh, write layout inflator dot from, and inside from we will pass the context parent dot context, and then we will write parent and false. Okay, so this is how it's done. And for the return type we will pass binding dot sorry, my view holder. Okay, for return we will pass my view holder and binding inside this. Okay, so this part is also done. Okay, so now on bind view holder, and okay, so for get item count we can simply return a data list at size. Inside this on bind view holder we will attach our data items to our list. Okay, so okay, so let me show you how it's done. I will simply just paste it. It is very easy. You will all understand it. So what we do, we will read our list. Like we have the position, we have the particular position. We will write data list and that particular position dot id dot to string, and we will pass this value to our holder dot id dot txt. Like to our array layout. You can say row layout. So uh, we can do it like this for id first name and last name. So now our adapter class is created. Now I need to create one function. Like we have created our list but we have no way to initialize that list, right? So we will create a function to initialize that list. So let's do that. uh, okay, so we will create a function send data, and this function, let's name it data, and it is a list of type model. And what this will do, now we will pass our list to this function, and this function will initialize our list, that data list we have created in this adapter. This function will initialize that list. How it will do that? This dot data list, this dot data list is equals to data. Okay. And now we will notify deserts are changed. So this okay. So all the functions inside adapter, like adapter part is done. Okay, now we can go back to our list fragment, where we will write the logic for our recycler view. So let's write that. Alright, so okay, first we will make a variable which will hold the adapter. So write well adapter is equals to adapter. Okay, and for recycler view, we create another variable. Recycler view is equals to binding dot uh, recycler view. Okay, so this is done. Now what we need to do, we need to attach the adapter with our recycler view. So for that, what we will do, we will write recycler view dot adapter is equals to adapter which we have created above. And now we need to specify what kind of layout we want to use. So we will be using linear layout manager. So let's do that. Recycler view dot uh, layout manager is equals to linear layout manager, and inside this linear layout manager we will pass required context. Okay, so this part is done. And now I told you that we use observers for observing our live data, or to get the changes, whatever changes is done in our live data part. So now we will attach the observer. Okay, so let me show you how it's done. So firstly, I have to call our view model in here. So for that, we will write latent var user view model, and it is uh, user view model. So, okay, and let's initialize it here very quickly. User view model is equals to view model provider is dot get user view model for Java. Okay, so this is done. Now, yes, we will attach observer. So how we do that? We write user view model dot, and our live data was working with read all data. I mean, this read all data variable hold this live data. So we will write here uh, read all data dot observe. We use this observe keyword in here, and inside this observe we will pass two things. One is view lifecycle owner, and then observer. Okay, let me show you how it's done. View lifecycle owner and observer. Right. So this is how it's done. Okay. Now we will give a name where we will store whatever data is received, or whatever change we have received. We will store it inside this user. Okay. And after getting the changes, we want to pass these changes to our adapter class. So how we will do that? We will simply write adapter dot set data, that function which we have created inside adapter, and pass this user, because this user is a list. When you will hover inside, you hover your cursor above it, you will see that this is a list of model class. So we can simply pass this user there. Okay, so this is done. So now let's run this and see what we get. Okay, so all right, so it is working fine. I think there is no data, so let's add some data. The last name is C, and add it. So yes, you can see that now this data is visible in here. Okay, now one thing we need to do, we want to come back to our list fragment after clicking any of these buttons. So let's add that function as well. So we will go to operation fragment. So after inserting part, like suppose we have inserted the data in here, now we want to return to our list fragment. Okay, so what we will do here, we will write find nav controller dot navigate, and inside this we will provide the ID r dot id. We want to navigate from operation fragment to list fragment, so we will write here operation fragment, this one. Okay, so it will navigate us back to list fragment. You can paste it here and here as well. Okay, now this is done. Okay, so now what we want to create a button for deleting all the data. Okay, so till now we haven't used anywhere delete all, that feature which we have created our user now. Okay, so this delete all we haven't used it anywhere. So now we will use this, and for this we will create an dialog as well. Okay, so let's go to list fragment, and here are some functions. So I need to create a menu file for that. So uh, how to create a menu file? Go to resource manager and select menu from here, and menu resource file. Let's name it as menu. Right. Okay, so as you all remember, I created a vector image. Okay, delete, name delete. So we will use it here. We'll write item and give it an ID, delete. Give it a label. No, sorry, title. Uh, delete, and let's see. Let's create this namespace declaration. So C is equals to create. Uh, wait. So it is Android icon. Okay, sorry, my bad. So it's Android icon, and inside this we will pass our drawable slash delete. Okay, and there is one option app show as action if true. So what this will do, if there is enough available space, it will show us the icon at this corner. Okay, and if the space is not available, it will show us those three dots, and then after clicking those three dots we will get our delete option. So this is okay, so this is how it is done. We have created our menu file. Now we will attach our menu file to our list fragment because we want to display this delete icon there also. So for this, we have certain commands, uh, like one function is on create options menu. So this function will create that menu. This function will make that menu display in our list fragment. Okay, so we will simply write on create options menu. Okay. And inside this on create options menu, we will pass inflator. We will write uh, inflator dot inflate, and here we will write r dot we will pass our menu, like menu file, r dot menu dot menu uh, dot menu. Okay, so this is how it's done. Okay, so and now there is one more thing. Now what we need to do, like we need to detect the selection of that item as well. Okay, now we have till now we have just created it. Now we want to detect when it got selected, that yes, now our menu item is selected. Now we want to do some further work on that. So for that what we need to do, there is another function named as on option item selected. On option item selected. Okay, and here we will write an if statement. If r dot id, no, if item dot item id is equals to r dot id dot, and the id of our that delete button, it was delete only. So okay, so it's like this. Then what we want to do, we want to show an alert dialog to user. Okay, so let me show you how to create an alert dialog. Okay, so create. variable name builder is equals to alert dialog dot builder, and inside this builder part required context, pass it. Now what we need to do, we need to create button. Okay, so how we create button for our error dialog? Builder dot set positive button. Okay, so this will create the positive button. Like we can give any name to this. Like I am giving it yes, and we don't want to use any predefined argument given by this. So just write underscore comma underscore like this. And inside this positive button, what we want to do, we want to delete all. So we will call that delete all function using our view model in here. So how we do that? User view model dot delete all. Okay. So now when we press yes, it will delete everything whatever is present inside our database. Similarly, we can create a negative button. So builder dot set negative button, and let's name it no, and we'll pass underscore here. And okay, so we don't want to do anything on no pressing, so we will leave it blank. Okay, now we can set the title for our alert dialog, like set the title, it, everything like this, and we will give a message as well just below this title. For doing this, we'll write a builder dot message, set message, and we can write, are you sure you want to delete everything? Are you sure uh, you want to delete everything? Okay, so our alert dialog part is then also done. Okay, now there is one important thing which is left. There is a function which is known as, I'm writing this here, set has options menu. This function is very necessary. You need to make it true. If it will, and if you forget to write this function, your menu will not be displayed at the corner. Like I want to display that dustbin icon, that will not be displayed until and unless you write this function and make it true. Okay, so now let's run it once again. Now everything is done. It will work fine. Okay, so this, okay, okay, fine. So this is our list fragment. This is displaying the data. This is currently stored in our database. Okay, now you create. Okay. So something is wrong, I think, with this delete button. Okay. So I just forgot to actually you need to write one more command in here because you have just created your builder. You have not displayed it. So you need to write builder dot create dot show. Okay. So now it will work. All right. So let's see. Okay. Now let's create this. Okay. So now it is showing me a dialog. You want to delete everything. If I will press yes, it will delete the data present here. Okay. Now you see that disappeared. Okay. So now, one more thing I want to do, I want to change this fragment this name to simple list. So for that, what we can do, we can just go to our navigation resource file. It is here, and just change the label. You will find it here like this. You can see this Android label. Just change it to list, like simply list. Okay, and this label to simply operation. Alright, so now it will work perfectly, I guess. Alright, so now it is showing here list and operation in here. Okay, so this is done. Now let me show you in real time how it works. Okay, uh, so let's close this and let's open our app inspector. Okay, so I have enabled live update. So uh, Let's add some data to our, let's add a data, like first bit, and let's add the name Singh. Now I will press add. Now it must be there. Okay, so it has added Aditya Singh for me. So similarly, we can add another data. Uh, like again, we can press this floating button. Now I want to add another data with another primary key. Let's name it Nikhil, and last name is Singh. Now we will press add. It will add this data as well in here. Okay. Now you can see there is Aditya and Nikhil, both are present here. And in this recycler view, you can see both Aditya and Nikhil. Now suppose you want to delete Aditya. So okay, the first data. So what you will do, you will simply pass the ID. Like the ID of Aditya Singh was one. So you can simply pass it in here and you select delete. So now the Aditya is deleted from here and from here as well. Okay. So this is how you can do. Now suppose you want to update this nickel sync which is already present, you want to update this data. So what you will do, you will simply click it here, pass the ID of nickel, that was 2, and change the, suppose you want to change the first name from Nikhil to Aman, okay, and the last name you want to keep it same. Now you will click on update, so it will update it here. Now that Nikhil is now Aman. Okay, so this is how database works. All right, so this was all from my side. Like I have shown you the demonstration. If you have anything to ask, you can tell me. Like, have you understood everything I taught you?
So, like, what would happen if we try to delete something which is not there? Will the app crash or it will have some exception handling?
Okay, it will return null actually. It will return you null, so you won't be able to if now because it has returned null. So you can check. You can write an if statement and check that if your list is null. If your list is null, the database is not having anything, and if it is not null, the database is having something. Okay, so this is how you can do that.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So anything else you want? Anyone else want to ask? All right. So if you have any problem, you can also ask me on Discord server or the. Okay. So now let's get back to our presentation. Okay. So we have finished our live demo part. I hope you all must have understood everything nicely. It was okay. And now I'm going to hand over to facilitator Satyajit Bhaiya. He will explain from here. Okay, Satyajit Bhaiya.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. We come to the end of our live sessions from today. Now, we will start with the next proceedings. Like, wait, let me know if it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Now this was the last session. Thank you, Aditya. After this, we would be asking. We will be giving you some time to focus on your application creation and collecting your badges. We have already shared the link for where you can submit your badges. Also, make sure that if you want to be eligible for the Android Associate Developer Exam reimbursement, uh, you'll have to submit badges till Unit 6. Due to time constraint, we would not be able to cover Unit 6. Today, we completed Unit 5. But if you want to be eligible for the exam reimbursement, you'll have to complete all 6 units and you will have to use the same link and submit the badges accordingly. And the last date for submitting for the for all the badges for till Unit 6 would be 10th January. And also, only one person can only like upload share the like share his or her badges for only one time. So just make sure, if you have it in mind that you have to complete till Unit 6, even if you have completed till Unit 4, just wait, don't submit yet, and then complete all the units, and then you may submit. And even if you have done it in a wrong way, then you can just ping me, and we can help you guys. So am I clear? And also, the last date to submit for the end of this session, to be eligible for getting the rewards or the application, you'll have to submit till Unit 4, and you'll also have to submit the application by 8th January. That is the last date. And we won't be having any sessions till 8th January. And if you guys need any extra session, then you can just let us know, and we will work something out. Like, we can have a Q&A session. We can have a quick Q&A session and everything. If you have any doubt, you can just let us know in Discord.
How to submit application, Bhaiya?
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting to it. So I'll be sharing the link. There will be a link where you have to share your application. Just make sure you have followed all the guidelines and your app is ready, so that I'll share a link. The link will be shared from 7th January. It will be active for 2 days, that is 7th and 8th January. And in that link, you'll have to go and fill out all the forms, and you'll have to submit your application there. It will be not shared to you by email, but it will be shared in our AgeDate discussion announcement channel again. So make sure you are you are active there, and you know what's going on in that channel. I hope everyone is in the Discord channel, right? Discord server.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yeah, so everything will be communicated through that. Uh, except for that, do you have any other questions, like regarding the submission of the badges or the sessions? Any type of query you can just ask me. So
Bhaiya, actually, I have completed till pathway 4, which was add a button to an app. Then
Mhm.
after that, the next 5 and 6 are not reflecting in the page.
Not reflecting in the page.
I mean, it's not showing to explore that 5 and 6 pathway.
I don't
Fifth
think
and the
no. There
sixth.
are 6 units. I think you have only done till Unit 1. Unit 1 has 4 pathways, I guess.
Oh, okay, okay.
Unit 1 has four
Okay,
pathways. Unit 2
okay,
will
okay,
have
okay.
more. There are total 16 pathways and
All right,
six
all right.
units. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. I misinterpreted. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Do you have any queries regarding this? So am I clear with this part? Like, if you want to be eligible for the test, then you have time till 10th January. But if you submit an application, that the last date is 8th January for your application. For everyone, the last date to submit your application would be 8th January. But if you want to be eligible for the test reimbursement, you'll have to complete all the 6 units, and the last date for submitting that would be 10th January. And I've again shared the link here, and it will be again shared.
Bhaiya,
We are like I had asked, but what's the means time limit in which we have to appear the test to be eligible for reimbursement?
I think the test would be the time limit is March, mid March. Within that time, you'll have to appear the test.
Okay, bye. Okay.
Bhaiya,
I'll let
actually, I
you know
have,
the exact date. I'll let you know the exact date.
Bhaiya,
Yeah.
yeah, I have sent the wrong screenshot in the link
Okay.
about that unit. So is it possible to do that again? Because I have
Uh,
sent instead of 4 units, I have sent 4 pathways.
Yeah, that is fine. If we that is fine. You can just send it to me personally in Discord, the screenshot,
All right.
and
Okay.
just tell me your name.
This is Divyaranjan Sahu.
Okay, Divyaranjan. I'll note it down. Just
Okay.
send
Okay.
me
Thank
the
you.
screenshot personally. Okay,
Yeah. Sure.
cool. Anything else?
Yeah, not related to the sessions, but when will be there will be recruitment for the club?
Recruitment. I think we will do recruitment after in around August, July, August.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
and what are the other means study jams in future upcoming?
Study jams is held only every annually. So like again in next year again, when Google will provide the timeline, according to that we'll have to set the dates. But it will be around December, January itself. Even last year
No,
it
no,
was
no,
during this.
not about the next Android study jams. Other like cloud study jams or something are conducted.
Yeah,
Any
sure.
idea about?
Yeah, you just have to be active in our Discord. It's the same public Discord server. Any kind of different announcement, if we are having an event, we'll be sharing it in our major announcement channel. we
Okay.
we conduct a lot of session, like we do have cloud programming, cloud jams and everything. Okay, so make sure to be in our Discord server. The application submission link will be provided there only. And if you want any session, then let us know in Discord. Let the ASJ discuss thread. Happy New Year, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anil.